The year is 1995. The Union Pacific Railroad has just made an agreement with the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad to merge. With this, it means trackage with UP and CNW would be combined, expanding UP's routes and profitability. But this also meant that UP would acquire all Chicago and Northwestern locomotives. With the coming years, these locomotives would slowly become extinct, being either repainted or patched and given new numbering. But two Chicago and Northwestern locomotives managed to stay under the radar of Union Pacific, and against all odds, survived past the merger in 1995 to December of 2017. This is the story of the Chicago and Northwestern twin locomotives 8646 and 8701. Before we start on the long journey these locomotives went on, let's look into the history behind these locomotives. CNW 8646 and 8701 are both General Electric C44-9W locomotives. Built in the 1990s, these locomotives are still used to this very day by different railroads, and so when Union Pacific acquired them, they'd fit right into their existing fleet and would normally be patched and given UP markings. But for whatever reason, 8646 and 8701 never got patched and lasted into the early 2000s. It was still normal though, as some fellow CNW ancestor locomotives would remain unpatched, but soon they would eventually lose their CNW colors and be painted into UP. But even after that, 8646 and 8701 still never got their patches. As time went on, more and more CNW units began to disappear at a rapid rate. But these historic workhorses still would run across UP's system wearing original colors and markings into the mid-2000s. In 2006, Union Pacific unveiled 6 locomotives honoring the railroads they had merged with. Chicago and Northwestern was included on this list, with the number being 1995 corresponding with the date that they merged. Incredibly, the CNW twins, as they were nicknamed, were still around and actually ended up getting paired with the CNW Heritage Unit in 1995. As the years ticked by, it truly seemed like someone at UP was keen on keeping the CNW twins around for as long as possible, and that's when a museum stepped in to help keep these locomotives in hiding. Fast forward to 2017, there are hardly any Chicago and Northwestern locomotives still left in revenue service. 8646 and 8701 are the two remaining all-original CNW locomotives on UP's fleet. The CNW twins made a visit to the Illinois Railway Museum, where they were publicly put on display with their restored CNW fleet of locomotives. People began to notice that they were sitting at the museum for months, and it seemed like they were possibly going to be either bought by the museum or remain there indefinitely. But unfortunately, worse came to worse, and UP soon caught on. In December of 2017, the CNW twins would leave the Illinois Railway Museum for good and be sent back to a UP shop to be repainted into the modern UP scheme. A theory going around about why UP decided to do this was because around the same time, graffiti artists repainted an SD60M in a deadline into a tiger scheme nicknamed the Rail Beast. And along with this, an SD70M was spray painted with Southern Pacific text and given a DIY bloody nose scheme, similar to the old SP units. This may have caused UP to check something and bring the CNW twins in to get repainted too, but that's just a small theory that people had going around. Nonetheless, 8646 and 8701 were goners. Even though these locomotives sadly lost their CNW paint and would eventually be put into storage, the efforts of the Illinois Railway Museum and many others proved to work out in the end, as these locomotives managed to defy the odds in railroading and thrive and survive. Thanks for watching.